All right, so let's go ahead and get to the first mailbag question. This one is from Steen Fan. He's a new subscriber, so welcome, Steen Fan. Obviously, a big fan of Kevin Steen. I think we all are. Kevin Owens from WWE. He says, Mike, who do you see in the world and knockouts title matches at Slammiversary? And I think that's a very good question. Oh, hold on. I'm gonna I think that's a very Billy. Yes, Billy. Yeah, there he is. He says, who do you see in the world in knockout title matches at Slammiversary? Well, I think that's a great question. So let's go to the knockouts title match. Knockouts title match, that's tough because right now the knockouts division is about as dire as it could be. I don't think I've been covering this company pretty in-depthly since 2018, since D'Amore and Callis first took over. And I would say Slammiversary in 2018. That's when I really got back into TNA, and that's when I really just kind of made it my focus of my wrestling, like what I was gonna do, because I knew that this was a really good product, and I didn't think that enough people were paying attention to it. So I was like, well, I'm going to start writing about it. And so I started in 2018, and I really started to make that my focus. Since that point, that's 6 years ago, this has been kind of the lowest I've seen the knockouts division ever be, because they never really had a ton of depth, and it's never been about depth with the knockouts division. It's always been about how they've been treated, and they've always been treated at least on par with the men, and that was true. And Jordynne Grace, to her credit, is treated as if she's as big a star as the men. The problem is she's got no opponents. And I know who Lucha Doncic wants, but I think my guess is they're going to go Dana Brooke, Ash by Elegance. They've been building it since Hard to Kill. I thought they were going to do it at Rebellion. I was like, all right, let's just get it over with. I kind of wish they would just get it over with Against All Odds in Chicago. She just beat Zaya Brookside this week. But I'm going to throw another name at you. So my guess, and if I were to put money down, I would put money on Ash by Elegance. I think that's who they go with. Okay. She's from WWE. They just like that. Even though she hasn't had a good match yet. Actually, this week's Zaya Brookside match, I didn't think was bad. It wasn't very long, which is good. But it was a very passable match. So Ash by Elegance is my pick, but I think Mickie James could be a wild card, and I think Billy hit it on the head. When you lose Mickie, Trinity, and Deanna and just replace with Ash, that's not enough. Yeah, Ash and Zaya Brookside and Steph Delander, none of them can, Zaya Brookside's okay, but for the most part, none of them can go, and they don't really have much star power. But I think we see Mickie James return this weekend. There's been some online rumors, not really from any credible journalists or anything like that, just people kind of doing tea leaves. They're in the Cincinnati area, close to Kentucky. Mickie James is a part of the front office of OVW. I think it makes sense that Mickie James would come back. It really kind of it's been a while. We haven't seen her since last year, and Slammiversary is coming up, and she's usually a part of Slammiversary in some form or fashion. I think she returns in Kentucky, and I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that Jordynne defends against Mickie, or if it's a 3-way with Ash by Elegance and Mickie James, something like that. So something like that. Now Lucha wants Tessa back. I don't think they're going Tessa. I think Tessa is the one that floated out that rumor that Tessa was negotiating with Impact. And she's done that before. She has. Her and Magnum TA have some connections in the media world, and they do that stuff. She has been floating rumors out there about her return. It's very much like Alberto Del Rio. Every year around the same time, there's always a ringside news article of hey, is Alberto getting ready to come back to WWE? And then of course Sean Ross Sapp has to be no, he's never coming back. So that's never happening. Here's a good question. Any chance of Natty in Montreal? I would say there's a chance. I was going to get into Natty later in the show, but we'll go ahead and talk about it right now. Natty's contract expires here pretty soon. I think that she's going to resign. She seems like she's a WWE lifer to me, but she's kind of done it all there. I wouldn't it wouldn't shock me to see her go out there and have like an independent run. And part of her independent run would be taking dates with TNA. I don't see her like coming to TNA and like signing a full-time deal, but I could see her be like other star, like, like Naomi when she came over and did like a little bit of a run. I could see her kind of like taking a break from WWE and possibly just jumping over and doing a TNA thing. I could see that. That wouldn't shock me. I mean, how possible? It's possible. Is it probable? I would probably not say it's probable, and I know that's kind of a weird, weird sentence to say, but I think she's a WWE lifer. But I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that she would take some time off, do a little bit of an independent run, take some dates with TNA, and then head right back to WWE. I think her future is probably like as a coach in NXT and like a trainer. I think her husband's already doing that, and her husband's a producer for WWE, and a very good one at that, from what I hear. Like, he produces a lot of the big time matches there. So I could totally see it. Like, Natty is different than most other WWE women's wrestlers, where this is in her blood. If she didn't get picked up by WWE at an early age, she would have had like a 20-year run, bouncing around from TNA, Ring of Honor, going to Japan, all that. Like, she would have definitely done that. She just happened to get picked up pretty early, have her NXT run, and then become like a reality TV star with her, which, that reminds me, rest in peace, Two Paws, her cat, her beautiful cat, unfortunately just passed away due to cancer. So RIP, sad to hear that. That's a tough deal anytime you lose an animal, and I know that she was really close to that cat, so that's tough. Who do you see in the world title match at Slammiversary? Well, I was pretty much stuck on Moose versus Josh Alexander being in Montreal, because I still feel, even with the results this week, I still feel that Matt Hardy is getting a title shot in Chicago, despite the fact they have not given that man any momentum. He has yet to win a single match. Like, yeah, he won the tag match, but he's not even a guy that got the pin. You would have thought he would have been the one to get the pin if they're going to try to build him up to Chicago. But he lost his first match at Under Siege, the tag match. He didn't get pinned, but he still lost. And then he has another tag match, and he won, but he didn't get the pin. Yeah, I still think they're going to go with Matt Hardy in Chicago, but this company just doesn't know how to book strong contenders. If you want Matt Hardy to get a title shot, at least get him some wins, guys. Come on. It's kind of an embarrassing thing, but so I still think that Matt Hardy gets the shot at Against All Odds in Chicago. And as far as Montreal goes, my original idea was Josh. I thought I was thinking Josh for Montreal, and I booked this whole fantasy booking thing where Josh he's in Montreal. I was even thinking, because it's in Montreal, you book the Canadian hero to in a world title match. But if you're not ready for Moose to drop the title, then you move them down on the card and maybe even put them in the opener or put them in the middle of the card somewhere. And that way you can have a match that goes on last and sends the crowd home happy. I think that stuff's important, especially when you're in a new town like Montreal. I don't think TNA's ever been there, or if they have, it's been a long time. And I think, they have an opportunity to book a show that will actually draw a big crowd and possibly beat the record that they have in Las Vegas. I think they could. So my original idea was Josh Alexander, and then he gets jobbed out of the title by Ethan Page. Ethan Page comes in and interferes, and then costs him the title. And that way you can keep the belt on Moose. You put it early in the card, so you send people home happy with a match later that actually will have like a clean finish. Well, I have now changed my mind, because now I'm thinking that you just do Josh and Ethan Page. If Ethan Page is coming in, that's just the match at Slammiversary. You can give Josh a title shot on Impact or something like that, because he won the number one contender spot. You do a match on Impact or something, like whenever he comes back at the Philly tapings, and then you have Ethan cost him there. I think right now you ride the wave of Joe Hendry. And I think that they're going to do that because we saw him get the big victory. He was the big star. He was like, out of all the 16 like all-stars, he was the one that came out last. He cut the promo. He got the victory, and then they were all surrounding him, making him look like he was the focal point of the match, and he was the big star of the match. So I think right now they're building towards Joe Hendry getting a title shot at Slammiversary. And I can't say that I hate it. I actually think I dig it. The problem is do you put the belt on him? Because they've been building this thing with Moose, trying to do their own kind of version of the Bloodline story with the system. They've been kept very strong up until this week. They had gotten pinned, I think, by Okada in the Okada match, like on TV, and that was the last time they had anybody in that group had been pinned. And of course, it was Brian Myers both times. Like, if you're gonna pin a guy, make it Myers. He's like, he's made a lot of money taking pins his whole career. But yeah, I think I think they go with Joe Hendry, and then becomes the booking problem. Do you put the title on Joe Hendry? I think you could. And you could flip it back if you still wanted to finish your story with Nic Nemeth and Moose, later in the era, whether it be Bound for Glory or Hard to Kill. But yeah, I think that I think Joe Hendry is the main event with Moose. I think that's where they go. I think they're really building something. And I'll be honest, I don't disagree with it. I don't hate it at all.